Hi guys, happy Thursday. Ashley here. So I'm just going to start out by saying I think I was a little, I feel very uncertain about my response and my what theory I thought was being used, but I just went with what I'm going. I really appreciate any feedback and thoughts. I really value that stuff. So, jumping in, number one, what are the thinking and behaving goals that were established in the clip? Well, it was very obvious that we saw kind of the end of the session, and as they were closing out the session, the therapist was asking, so when you leave here, what are you going to think about? What are you going to remember from this session? And she talked about remembering um, she said him sabotaging the relationship. So that obviously tells me, I imagine there's an ex, I don't know, somewhere, something in there. And then she was going to remember not to isolate herself. And the one that I thought was kind of pretty, well, I guess it doesn't matter, but maybe the most valuable was ways to feel good about being alone by herself. So I thought that that was those were the thinking goals, specifically the last one, ways to feel good about being alone. And then as far as the behavior or behaving goals, he then proceeded to ask, okay, so what are you going to do based on these thoughts and what you realized? And she said that she was going to continue to go to her meetings and she was going to try to let him go. Um, and then he responded with like, well, that was kind of a tentative answer. She didn't really give very much detail into that, but that was a tentative answer. She seemed a little bit hesitant with it. But it was the best that she could do, and that's where she was, and that's okay. She'll continue to let him go piece by piece when she's ready, and he could tell that she wasn't quite ready. So that's where I am gathering the behaving or thinking and behaving goals. And the thinking and behaving aspect is what leads me to number two. What theory I thought was being used was the rational emotive behavior therapy. And what aspects of the video suggest that to me? And the fact that he was asking asking questions, right? And then B, asking about what she was thinking about and what she would remember, and then what she would do from that, what she was gonna do with that information. So that's kind of also what led me to believe that. Now, as I said in the beginning, I could be very off, and I feel like there are probably tidbits here and there that lead me to believe it could also be other therapies as well that we discussed this week. Number three, how would I use this, or how would you use this approach in your work as a school counselor? Well, I think that lots of these kids, especially the ones I've worked with in the pre-K through 2 setting, where I was doing kind of behavior supports and interventions, a lot of these kiddos do come in with this irrational thought, like if they get one answer wrong, they failed the whole test and they're a failure. And so I think that working with kids in small groups on just shifting that perspective, that lens of irrational to rational thought could be helpful, especially starting it out really young, because if these kids or even adults continue to get stuck in that irrational thought perception or lens, I feel like it only grows stronger and is more solidified as you grow older. So I think I would use it in that way, and I would think I would start with a lot of self-esteem, and their perception of themselves and how they view themselves in the world. I think that's how I would kind of utilize that. Obviously, there's room for other things, but that's where I would start. And then number four, what aspects of the theory would be easy and difficult to implement in your school? I think working with self-esteem can be fun and can be kind of easy, but I think the difficult part of that, especially changing perception and perspective is hard. Being at such a young age too, I think, willingness to look outside yourself is a little bit challenging, and I think not that it always is necessary to do that, I think in this sense, but I think that would be a challenging part of it. I also feel that this kind of behavior therapy might take a longer time and a longer duration, whether that be like in a small set, in a group setting, an individual setting, or like over the course of the semester, the year, I mean, however long that takes. And I think we don't always have that kind of time. Or there are things that happen on campus that require our support, as in like crisis and stuff. So that could be interrupted, and it might not, that would just make it a little bit more difficult. And then the last question is, of the three theories discussed, which do I see being the most effective at my grade level? And I really do think that the rational emotive would be the most effective, because as I said before, shifting that mindset I think is important to start doing that when you're young, so that way you can continue to grow and do that as you grow and get older. Once it's established, I feel like you're kind of stuck in this train of doing it, and you're not used to, it's easier to change those kind of, I would think it's easier to start out young than it would be when you're older and some of those thoughts and beliefs are already a little bit more concrete within the individual. So that's what I think I would use and what I think would be effective, because if you have that ability to shift from irrational to rational, at a young age, you start learning how to do that, the likelihood of continuing to do that as you get older only increases. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I really look forward to your feedback, and I will see you soon. Bye.